tell us a little bit about Might.
So MIGHT, the Montclair Initiative, was started almost 2 years ago with a group of faculty that has been incredible, a core committee of people who've made that commitment. MIGHT is now going to be under and which we have approval, the Global Center on Human Trafficking at Montclair State. And it is housed under Peter Kingstone, which is under the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. And that just happened this fall with me being the acting director as they look to solidify the Global Center in January, launch it with the new director. And so the vision is to be a leader in this role, a global leader in knowledge, expertise, and resources to help fight human trafficking. The mission is through, of course, academic study, is through developing solutions, whether it's working in tandem with governmental industry, social services, community organizations, and we'll leverage the resources that the university has, and we will also go outside and get additional resources. So there's a couple of key pillars that we're focused on. Of course, education and training, of course, research, advocacy and policy, networking and sharing, and victim services. And I'm really happy to say that just recently, within the last 3 weeks, the group was awarded by the state of New Jersey the human trafficking RFP, which we will be working with the state to actually consolidate their data and evaluate it so that they can have a way to understand what is happening, number one, with victims, where they're getting the data, how accurate it is or not. How do you consolidate it? And then once you have data, you can actually use that to inform you on policy, inform you on what types of services you should offer for victims, inform you on where and when it would be the most effective to implement certain strategies and initiatives. So we're proud that they awarded us this RFP, which now enables us to work with the state in implementing solutions. So that's one of the first steps a win that we got this fall. And we're
That was a
working
big
on some
win.
additional things. Yeah, it's a big win.
You want to shout out
Yay!
to some of the people who worked on that?
Oh my gosh, yeah, Danielle Pertica Benton. There's also Francesca LaGuardia, and there's also Tony Durso, were the three key lead people on that. And of course, Peter Kingstone. And I have to say, Susan Cole was instrumental in terms of helping us secure that. So it was really a team effort in terms of, everyone getting together, pulling together the RFP, and being able to, move that forward. So it's, a first step win. I'm hoping to do a lot more of that as we move forward. But being able to be the expertise for the state
Yeah.
enables us to now help them as we develop solutions at the state level. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it is incredible, and you should be proud and very excited about that, as should everybody that worked on that so far. So I mentioned earlier, even before I knew what Might was, I saw those blue cutout folks, and I thought that was really fascinating. It was very high profile, and folks were talking about it. You want to talk about some of the things that you've done thus far?
Yeah, no, definitely. So the blue figures were called Out of the Shadow, and each of the figure had a QRS code, and we put them all over the campus, and you basically learned about human trafficking victims, which broke all stereotypes, right? Because you think that it's only certain types of people, but it was showing women and men, LGBTQ, different backgrounds all over the world, immigrants. So when you look at trafficking, it's labor trafficking, sex trafficking. There's so many elements. So it's educational, and that was awesome. What we also did, though, was educational. We did Facebook Lives as well as roundtable discussions. And another one was with Ken Sumner, the vice provost at MSU, and we did one on the business of human trafficking, where we talked about how human trafficking is a multi-trillion-dollar enterprise. Labor trafficking, sex trafficking globally is something that you really have to follow the money trail, and we talked about it and explained it. Then you have Mimi Feliciano, the founder of the Feliciano Business School. She did an interview with Tom Countermine, and that discussion was on the front line of human trafficking, how law enforcement, and he is the supervisory special agent to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, but they're very concerned with how we actually identify immigrants or human traffic victims or labor traffic victims. What are the services that we offer? And how do we work with the community? And there's so much concern, I'm going to be honest with you, with when you think about law enforcement and especially the immigrant population and the concern about being, their safety or actually being deported. So that was a great conversation we had. The other one was with Daniel Pertica Benton and Bon Benton. They did a whole roundtable discussion on the treatment of human trafficking in superhero comic books. Fascinating, fascinating, and that actually is something that really is interesting to see how it's been represented, because it's been around for so many centuries, and that was incredible. And then we had, which was really exciting, with the organization called GEMS, and we did a film screening of very young girls. And we did it here on campus at Presentation Hall. Mimi Feliciano facilitated the Q&A session with two victims who have actually turned their lives around, and it was very well received. And what we were trying to do is educate how women, young girls, actually, they were like 12 and 13 when this all started. So they're very young, got into human trafficking, and what was their process of getting out and becoming, rehabilitating. So that was really educational as well. And then with our own Arnaud Kurz, we did a whole thing called Out of the Fields. And this was on agricultural labor trafficking, which is huge. And we worked with the Alliance for Fair Foods and the Coalition of Immokalee Workers. And they came in and showed us films and showed us all of the challenges that people have in terms of actually being in labor trafficking in the agricultural sector. And what are some of the steps that you can take to help with members who are going through that? So we did labor trafficking, sex trafficking, the business of human trafficking, and we also did a lot of education about what the members were. So we were pretty busy because that was mostly through the month of January, which is Human Trafficking Month. And then we went into March, and then the COVID hit. So, but we have now gone virtual.
Excuse, Faith.
Yeah, no, but we've now gone virtual, just to say a little bit about that. But we're working now on some incredible projects going forward. So yeah, we've done quite a bit in that short period of time. And now we're formalizing it into the center.
One, you mentioned that January was Human Trafficking Month, Awareness Month. You also mentioned that the new Center for Global Trafficking at Montclair State University will be opening in January.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on this year. So between now and say May, which is the end of our academic year, what's hot? What's going on? What should we be looking for?
Well, there's a couple of things you can see. We're developing a human trafficking primer. So if you want to know more about human trafficking as a faculty, as an external partner, and you want to know where you can get information about what it is, or educational modules, which there are several that are online for free, or videos or books, this primer will be to help you. So we're putting that out there. We're also and we just confirmed that we're going to do a book webinar by Monique Villa. She's the former CEO of the Thomas Reuter Foundation, and her book's called The Slaves Among Us. And on December 1st, we are going to hold a webinar. with her. And she's going to have a couple of people that she's talked with, and our Arnaud Kurz is going to be the moderator, but it's going to be she and a couple of other key people who've been very instrumental in the industry. And then we're also working on, there's a lot we're working on here. We're also working on January, which is, right. It's actually, we're already in October. I just feel like, oh my God, don't slow down. But we're working on social entrepreneurship during the month of January, and how that links to human trafficking. So how can you find solutions for organizations that are helping human traffic victims, and working with our students to help us develop a competition to actually develop some business ideas around this. So that is going to be launched in January with social entrepreneurship, and we will also hold a workshop. We're also going to do further education on human trafficking, because it's really a global initiative, and it's more than sex trafficking. It's also labor trafficking, but also the beginnings of it goes back for many, many hundreds of years. And so we have some incredible professors, and we're going to do a roundtable on that in terms of the history, how it's related to sexism, and how it's related to labor. What are some of the foundations of this? And so we're going to have the larger conversation, and we'll also discuss how hate jacking in the human trafficking space has really been has had a negative impact in terms of using human trafficking for political, I would say, political standing. I'll just leave it at that. So we want to have that broader conversation and education about what's going on, because it's important. And I think in this day and age, we need to, what I say, be bipartisan. This is the right thing to do regardless of your politics. The percentage of people now during the pandemic and being affected by this has gone up more than 20%. From what I've seen, the Polaris, they do a hotline, and just year over year, the number of calls are up 20%. And the victims, as you can imagine, are those that are the most at risk during the COVID. In poverty, not surprising, huge number of African American, Asian, and Latino. Because everybody's stay-at-home policy, you can't get access to people as we would have in prior, times. So all of this is actually compounding the needs that we have, and we're working towards solutions to help with that.
You were talking earlier in the episode about tactical versus strategic. So some of the things we've been talking about now are much more tactical. What about strategic plans going forward, longer range?
Yes. Well, I think strategic to the center is actually having a human trafficking, a master's in human trafficking, if it's warranted, right? That we actually have education that's targeted in this area. And it kind of goes up from executive education to certificate to a certification program to a full-blown minor to a full-blown degree, right? So when you look at it strategically from an academic institution, that would be at that level. The other thing is, if we really want to be a global leader, then we have to start to talk about what does it mean to influence at the federal level,
Right.
at the global level. So at the federal level, it is being a resource for them to help them develop policies that will be impactful. And the only way you can do that is through a coalition. So when I was at Wyndham Worldwide, we as the hotel industry, hospitality industry, would go and work with the American Hotel Lodging Association and actually talk about policies and tools that they could use to help us become more sustainable, to help us combat human trafficking. So we need to develop what I call coalitions at the state level that now rolls up and gives advice to the federal level. And I was involved with a lot of that, especially during the Obama era and the Department of Energy. And we became a best practice leader. And that's what I think, a best practice leader. That's long term, right? Because you need to have examples of what you're doing to demonstrate that. So that's long term. And then global leadership is working with organizations. We've talked with World Vision. World Vision actually has many programs that they're implementing in India and Asia, parts of Asia, where they're helping human traffic victims. And so they need research on what of their strategies or tactics are working or not. It's more evaluative research that then can say these tactics are working, these are not, and then they can actually be more decisive and strategic in terms of what they implement at a country level. To me, those are long term, right? You got to build to that. But I can see it. And to me, the first step is being able to see those opportunities and then you build towards them.
That's right. I mean, in teaching, we talk about scaffolding, right? So that's what you're really doing here is scaffolding.
And then we also just to be, looking at our university and what talent do we have to be able to do that, right? Right now, we have over about 30 faculty and staff that has some incredible backgrounds across all different types of disciplines. But once you start to formalize like a certification program, you really have to say, do we have people that have all of the expertise in human trafficking that we need, or do we need to build new courses, or do we need to build the team? And so that will be, with Peter under his, leadership and whomever, at the end of the day, the director and really developing that.
Earlier about this getting involved with federal policy. You've already started that with some of the work that you're doing with that grant you mentioned earlier. And you and I were talking earlier about Chief Paul Sell at Montclair, who is a gem for us. And he's such a pleasure to work with and a leader in his field. So it seems like you are building stepping stones on the way to that.
Right. So absolutely, because law enforcement is on the front lines of human trafficking. And so anything we can do to educate and train them and give them tools, but then also enable them to partner with their communities. Because right now, it's, as you know, it's not an easy relationship with law enforcement and especially communities of color. And, how do you have discussions about how we work together? And human trafficking could be a place for that. Because if you're helping primarily children of color and people who are at risk, and they really, understand that law enforcement's role is to help, then that could be an area to build a bridge. So, I'm into, as you can see, building bridges, identifying ways that we can work across together against different party lines, against different functions. I had to do it all my life, and different countries, to be frank with you, because everybody has different laws. And when you implement a program here in the U.S. versus Asia versus Latin America, not just the language translation, it's cultural, and it's also understanding what's happening legally there. So, but if you do it and you do it right, you can actually make a tremendous difference.
Here in the U.S., do we have many other centers or schools that offer degree programs similar to the ones you were talking about?
Not that many. Nope. This is really an opportunity, to be honest with you. There aren't that, there's, when we really count, there's around 17 in this space. But then when you really start to drill down in terms of who's actually offering a full-blown degree, there aren't that many.
Excellent.
So that's an opportunity.
People watching this at Montclair especially might be very excited, faculty and students, and say, how do I get involved? So tell us, how do we get involved?
So there are so many touch points of getting involved, whether it's you want to enhance your curriculum associated with human trafficking, whether a student organization, we're working with the Bonner students, we're working with interns to help us implement the program. We need all the help we can get. So we're open to that. We're also open to working with the local, agencies and nonprofit groups that people might have relationships with and trying to help with solutions that we could, from an academic institution, provide them. That is critical. The other key area that they can go to our website, there's actually a contact area, and you can actually fill it out and let us know what you'd like to know about or what you'd like to do. Or if you see this video, you can contact me, Taylor F at montclair.edu, and I will get back to you if you're very, very interested. I found it's funny in my role at Wyndham Worldwide, it was not based on levels in terms of, oh, only this level could, make a decision or implement a program or help us develop it. It was across the board. It's people who are passionate and will take that extra time to help you out. And that is so important when you have a program such as this.
It's like, what would it mean to get involved? What does that actually mean?
So get involved is depending on what you have in terms of your time, talent, and resources, right? And so at the end of the day, can you donate time to help us implement an online webinar? Can you donate time to research programs that benchmark human trafficking in, let's say, other parts of the world that we haven't thought about? Can you help us with getting donations or funding, to be honest with you, for some of these initiatives that we're working with? And, I know that person at that foundation. I've known them for over 10 years. I think they'd be interested in helping fund you. Yes, contact us. We'd love that. So it depends on what you believe that your area of expertise and what you can do. And not everybody can get money. Not everybody can do research. And not everybody can do everything. But what can you do in your sphere of influence? And then that we will try to work with. And I found that to be the most effective.
So even if you have a few minutes a week, even if you have a half hour, there's something for someone to do, whether it's work a seminar or a webinar or help with a document, or the student groups that are out there that want to raise awareness to this, they should contact you. Faculty members who are interested in building this into their curriculum, finding ways to educate students, they should contact you.
Yeah. And so that blue campaign that we implemented was put up by the students, and they helped us make those blue figures, and they helped us, do the social media campaign. That's huge, right? All of the promotions and everything. So I'm just saying, like, there's so many things that they can help us with. And actually, we're looking at what the next campaign to raise awareness should be.
Well, that's all that we have time for today. Thank you for joining us for Coffee Talk, produced by the student team in the Center for the Digital Humanities, part of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences at Montclair State University. For more information on past and future Coffee Talk episodes, visit us on the web. Go to www.montclair.edu and search for the Center for the Digital Humanities. We also kindly ask that you click that red subscribe button that's down there somewhere. You can also follow us on IGTV and keep up with us on this and other video content. Not only can you find the Center for the Digital Humanities on YouTube and Instagram, you can also like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at CHSSCDH. And if you're at Montclair State, find us on, well, it was HawkSync, and you'll be able to soon be able to find us on Engage. That's all for today. Thanks very much. Have a great day.